Good morning. My name is Andrea, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend the workshop due to flight reason. So I will use the next 20 minutes of the workshop to present you in an online mode, which are the main results coming from the data collection on the questionnaire that you received in the previous months in order to stimulate some discussion that can be useful then to compare and to better understand the case studies that will be presented. First of all, I want to recall you which was the framework of the study on which the questionnaire was grounded and designed and drive the main item that were included. We started with the idea that innovation is something which is embedded at government level. So we start considering how innovation is included in the broader government policy and which are the policy instruments that government use to stimulate innovation. Once government do that, of course, these need to be transported to all the government functions that support the achievement of broader governance objectives. Among the different broader objectives, a contribution is given by procurement, which is one of the government functions. So at procurement level, there is a policy and a strategy which is defined, which needs to embed also innovation objectives and innovation tools and innovation instruments. And in order to contribute to achievement of this objective through procurement, we have innovation project. Innovation project which involves procurement on innovative goods and service, then in their operational and strategic achievements contribute at first level to the achievement of public procurement innovation goals, which in turn affect the broader policy and innovation objective established at government level. With this idea in mind, we design a questionnaire which reflects this structure. As you may remember, we have a first section that was focused on collecting general information about your institution, your respondent, the procurement organization, and the overall characteristic of the public procurement project. Then we have a section that was more focused on understanding the characteristics of how the procurement project for innovation was managed, and a final section which asks you to, let's say, shed more light about which was your understanding about the innovation policy in public procurement at your institution level and, generally speaking, at your country level. So now I'm going to give you some of the main results that came from the analysis of your data in each of these sections. Let's start with some descriptives. So which were the respondents? It was not easy to collect data, but at the end we were able to collect 80 responses, which are well spread in terms of geographical areas covered. As you can see here, most of the respondents comes from the United States, 50%, but all the continent are well covered. The only, let's say, lack that can be seen is on the African region, when we have only one respondent, but North America, South America, let's say the eastern part of the world and Europe are well covered in terms of respondent. And also participant at the workshop represents this geographical coverage. In terms of the characteristic of the respondent, we saw that most of the responses came from municipalities and local governments, 34%, followed by other type of institutions like state government, public companies or research association, 23%. Respondents were, let's say, had an high profile in terms of job position, because 34% and 36%, so a total of 70% of respondents were department head, like head of procurement or head of general service or head of other government function, or middle manager, like category management manager in the procurement department. In terms of their procurement organization, we can see that we have a clustering toward centralized structure or hybrid centralized structure with formal responsibilities, which cover like more than 80% of our respondents. Before deep diving into the characteristics of how projects were managed, some descriptive about the project included in the dataset. As you can see here, in terms of the object of the public procurement for innovation project, we have a predominance of IT and electronic products and services, healthcare products and services, and building infrastructure and civil works. In terms of value of the project, we have project characterized by high value, because you can see that more like 70% were higher than $1 million, or between $500,000 and $1 million. So we have 80% of projects which were covering a high value in terms of money, and most of them, 63%, were started with the objective to satisfy the need of an external users. In terms of, let's say, characteristic, in terms of type of innovation project, we have a predominance of, you may remember that we distinguish three type of public procurement for innovation project: adaptive public procurement, procurement for the commercialization of the innovation, pre-commercial procurement. In terms of predominance in the sample, we can see that adaptive public procurement is the most recurrent with 49%, followed by procurement for commercialization of the innovation. In terms pre-commercial procurement is less frequent because it's also the more difficult, let's say, project to be managed, but we'll deal with this distinction later, where we'll compare characteristics of the project along different items in the questionnaire. If you look instead at the procurement role in the project, in this case we can see that we have a predominance, 64% of procurement involved as a team member or external team support, but in also 15 cases procurement was the leader of the initiative, the program manager, and in 18 cases the project manager in terms of project organization. However, let's say this is like reflected in the level of involvement coming from the sample, where we can see that in 28 and 23%, the 23 cases, including the dataset, procurement initiated the project or was invited to join the team at the very beginning, reinforcing its relevance for the successful execution of its activities. Looking more at like project characteristics in terms of how activities were managed and objective achieved, we can first see that, if you remember, one of the first questions was rating the cross functionalities in terms of how activities were executed, and as we can see from this chart, most of the activities were rated as executed with a high level of cross-functionality, which reinforced the idea that for this type of project, including more competencies, technical and managerial, and particularly procurement, was very important, because again, there is a good distribution on the 5 and 4 rating, which means that there was an utilization of cross-functionality which was a large extent or a very large extent. If you look instead at the project tools, this item that you see listed on the right were like included because these are the most recurring and most referred items in the literature. However, when we analyze your responses, we can see that most of the traditional tools, as recognized by the literature, are underused. Among these tools, like the more immediate and common sense one are the ones that are actually more higher rated, which are the advertising and promotional channel, like public procurement website or online help for promoting the innovation project, or advertising and media, or prompt payment to small business in order to stimulate them to participate to this kind of initiative. So actually what we see here is that most of these tools were not recognized as relevant as being used in the procurement project including data set, and if we want to look at the one which were actually most used, we can see that advertising, promotional and promotional channel, so like the most immediate one, were the most rated, including a usage promise of prompt payment to small business, as let's say longer payment is usually one of the most drawbacks for company dealing with public institution. In terms of outcomes achieved with the project, the procurement for innovation project, we can see that all the project rates a strong operational contribution as a final outcome. In particular, we can see an increase achieved in the user satisfaction, in the quality of the process where the goods or the service, the innovative goods or service were included, and the high level of sustainability. All of these items, let's say, are aligned with literature results, because public procurement for innovation as a first impact, increasing user satisfaction, increases the quality of the process where the goods or the service included, and often innovation means sustainability. So the fact that there is an increase in sustainability makes sense according to what we found in literature in terms of public procurement for innovation contribution. In terms of strategic outcomes, there is a mixed evidence in the sense that we can see that in the distribution between the items, cooperation of intellectual capital, stimulating of innovation, support to small medium enterprise, there is a mixed distribution in terms of the contribution of this type of project at procurement level to the achievement of this strategic objective. The, let's say, like most consensus is in the fact that this project, which require cost, time, investment by institution, are considered a good decision, because let's say you can see here 69% of respondents say 4 or 5 to the fact that this project contributes to an efficient and effective use of spending budget. So actually, this investment is considered a good return in terms of how budget is employed. In terms of other items, we can see that sustainability and achievement of sustainability and stimulation of innovation are the second most rated one, which again makes sense, because being a public procurement for innovation project, they should help stimulating innovation in the institution. And as I told, innovation is usually used as proxy also for including sustainability in public procurement, and so the fact that they help promoting environmental sustainability makes sense according to how innovation and sustainability are linked in the public sector. Now let's step to the question about the innovation policy. As you may recall, in the questionnaire we asked first if you were aware of the usage and the promotion and the inclusion of innovation policy at your institutional level and then at country level. That's the evidence coming from the institutional level. So 49% of people declare that there were not a public procurement for innovation policy in their institution, 41 declare this was present, and 10 probably didn't know or weren't aware too much to respond, and they didn't answer to the question. According to this, we ask which type of tools were mostly promoted in your innovation policy at public procurement in your institution. And as you can see here, like we don't have any different consideration that those made for the project. So most of the tools that are traditionally recognized by literature seems to be like underused or under-included in, or not included, not considered by at policy level at different institutions. You can see that here the bar doesn't reach 100% because there are some missing answers. So the fact that we don't have the full response on all the data sets is because some of you, probably those that didn't answer about the awareness of the innovation policy, missing to give were missing to give an answer for specific tools. Instead, if we switch the attention at the country level, 69% declare to not being aware of an innovation policy at country level for public procurement. when instead 31%, 25 respondents out of 80 say that this awareness was present. And again, this is only a subset of respondents, but this is what this subset of respondents declare about where the policy of public procurement for innovation is focused at country level. And that was good. That was like a surprising response, because again, even if it is a subset of respondents, but we see that policy focus seems to be well distributed on the items that were included in the dataset. In particular, the policy is focused on digitalize the economy and society. So public procurement for innovation is promoted as a tool to digitalize the economy and society, improve national innovation capacity and capability, and improve the quality of government service. So at policy level, the public procurement for innovation policy at like a country level is focused mainly on this aspect, but like the respondent aware of the content of this policy, well rated also all the other items that were included in the data set, with these three being the most important. If instead we switch the attention to how government engage in public procurement for innovation initiative, what we can see is very interesting, because we can see that except for formal communication, let's say initiative, which are the first two items, so formal communication and website or online support for public procurement for innovation, we can see that governments are not really engaged and are not really involved in first person in promoting and sustaining innovation procurement, which leaves some large space for improvement in the future to make this project even with higher impact and relevance for institutions. Finally, besides descriptive and mainline frequency and bar and chart diagram that you already saw, we try to analyze some more, let's say, advanced pattern in the dataset by trying to establish relationship between items and variable in different sections. In particular, in order to stimulate some food for discussion after you will see this video. The first thing that we were thinking could be interesting to analyze is that okay, there was a section when we asked about the policy focus, and there was a section in which we asked about the strategic contribution on innovation project once carried out. So a first question could be, but is there a relationship between where the innovation policy at public procurement level is focused and the strategic achievement of public procurement project? And according to this table, the answer is yes. So whenever you see a green, let's say a green color, it means that there is a positive correlation, and whenever you see that there is a red color, there is a negative correlation. And we see clearly that there are some strategic outcomes that are strictly related to where the policy is focused. In particular, if you consider the strategic outcomes of contributing to the growth of local economy and employment creation, we see that projects that have higher result in terms of growth of local economy and employment creation are the ones that have a country was policy focus in terms of policy of innovation procurement is on improve the quality of government services, improve national innovation capacity and capability, and support the launch of innovative startups. Same if you look at support to small medium enterprises. So the project achieving higher contribution in terms of support to small medium enterprises were those where the policy focus at country and institution level is on support the launch of innovative startup and support the local economy by engaging smaller businesses. This correlation is not always like positive, because if we switch the attention to the achievement of collaboration with national and international bodies, we can see that project achieving lower results in terms of collaboration with national and international bodies were those where their policy focus were more on improved quality of government services and improved national innovation capacity and capability, which make us thinking that where the policies focus on this aspect, there is less contribution of public procurement project on increasing the collaboration with national and international bodies. Same consideration if you look at the creation of intellectual capital. Finally, another type of analysis that we want to carry on was to understand if different type of projects are associated to different type of outcomes. Again, as you may remember, we classified the public procurement process project in 3 different categories: pre-commercial procurement, procurement for the commercialization of the innovation, and adaptive public procurement. In these 2 tables, we analyzed if different type of public procurement project classified in this cluster achieve different type of strategic and operational objective. And as you can see from here, there is not too much different. That was quite surprising, as pre-commercial procurement and procurement for the commercialization of the innovation seems to contribute more to sustainability objectives compared to adaptive public procurement, while instead the procurement for the commercialization of the innovation seems to contribute more in enhancing collaboration between national and international bodies compared to pre-commercial procurement and adaptive public procurement. And this is evident if you look at the mean of the respondent on this item for the different projects. And if you look the attention, if you switch the attention to the operational objective, again, the difference is only on 2 items, in particular, simplification of procurement process and improvement of the environmental sustainability. And in this case, to be, let's say, distinctive is pre-commercial procurement because, as you can see from the mean values, pre-commercial procurement seems to achieve better operational performance on this aspect, so simplify the process and sustainability, compared to procurement for the commercialization of innovation and adaptive public procurement. That was everything. I thank you so much for your attention, and again, I hope that this will give a lot of space for further discussion. I'm really missing being there, and I will hope to be in touch with you soon, and I'm happy to hear your consideration and observation. Thank you.